Okay, so while Karina gets the slides up, tonight we're going to talk about our Rotary Foundation. And as Karina mentioned, I'm one of the presenters and Doug is the other presenter. And as soon as we have our, here it comes, okay. And is it going to be a presentation? I think so. Super. And if you could go to the next slide, please. No, this is not the right presentation. Yeah, there we go. Okay, great, super. So this just shows tonight's presenters in their natural habitat. That is working on 2 different Rotary service projects down in Guatemala. But what we're going to talk about is the Rotary Foundation and how you already know that the foundation transforms your gifts into service projects that change lives both close to home and around the world. But what you might not know is that the Rotary Foundation is internationally recognized as a top-rated foundation by earning Charity Navigator's top rating of 4 stars. And it's done that 13 years in a row. And what's amazing about that is only 1% of charities have achieved this record. And this kind of recognition excites donors because they know that their contributions will be well used. But as Rotarians, it's good to know that, but we get excited about the great work that's done by our contributions. But in the next slide, let's do like a brief overview of our Rotary Foundation. How about another slide? Yes, thank you. We give money, Rotarians, clubs, to the Rotary Foundation. And then some of that money goes to Rotary programs for service projects all around the world. And some of that money comes right back to our district and to our clubs to fund service projects through district grants and global grants. Now, as club president, you'll want to inspire your Rotarians to donate to the Rotary Foundation, and Doug will help you with some ideas for that. But first, I'll talk about ideas to encourage your club to get grants from the Rotary Foundation. Okay, the next slide. One of the reasons that the Rotary Foundation has been so successful, they've spent over $4 billion on life-changing sustainable projects. But one of the reasons it's been so successful and had such a huge impact is because they concentrate their work into just 6 areas of focus. So number 1 is peace building and conflict prevention. Number 2, disease prevention and treatment. Number 3, water, sanitation, and hygiene. Number 4, maternal and child health. Number 5 is basic education and literacy. And number 6 is community economic development. So let's do a little activity using the chat feature of Zoom. I'll mention a Rotary project, and then you decide what area of focus it is and use the chat to share the number of that area of focus. Okay, so polio plus, what area of focus? Anybody want to put out a number for that? 2, yes, I see lots of 2s. It is indeed 2. What about this year's district project with District Governor Joel providing clean water in Peru? What would that one be? 3s, lots of 3s, good. What about Rotary Peace Fellows? 1s, okay, great. What about, let's see, Waterville has a district project providing free books to children. What would that be? Oh, look at all those 5s. Okay. What about PDG Marcel's district governor's project reintegrating handicapped individuals into becoming working members of the society in Haiti. What do you think that one would be? 6, exactly. Community and economic development. What about a district grant to provide masks and PPE for COVID-19? Yep, that's a good 2. Okay, now for a tough one. Last year's district project was Suzanne. We're decreasing chronic childhood malnutrition in the highlands of Guatemala. Some 4s. Any other ideas? Some 2s, yes. It's a 2 and a 4. And amazingly, it's also a 6. Right, very good. People got the 6 as well. Okay, but I noticed in the chat that one of you said, hey, what about the newest area of focus? And so next slide, please. Yes. What happens when Rotarians say, hey, there's another area we'd like to concentrate on? The Rotary Foundation listens. And so they're adding for the first time a new area of focus supporting the environment. So starting July 1st, we can write Rotary grants for projects in this new area. And this is exciting for our district because District Governor-elect has chosen this area as the focus for next year's district project. And I'll talk in a few minutes a little more about that when we talk about global grants. But in the next slide, we'll first talk about the 2 basic types of Rotary grants. There are more, but we're simplifying here to just 2 of them. One is district grants, and those are for small projects, $625 to $4,500. And for those, you apply to the district for that money for projects for your club. Global grants, on the other hand, are large projects with budgets of $30,000 and up. And for those, you apply to the Rotary Foundation, but the foundation committee is here to help you to apply for those grants. Okay, in the next slide, we'll start explaining the district grants first. Okay, so here are the rules for district grants, and these rules vary in each district, so this is what our district has come up with. Okay, the projects can be a local project, you can do it in your community, or it can be an international project. But if it's an international project, you have to hook up with a host club in the country where you're doing the project. Okay, you can ask for more than one district grant. So when your club submits your applications, just tell us the priority order. You know, this is our first priority, second, third, etc. Okay, now new for this year is the district match is going to be for every club dollar up to a limit, we'll match it with $1.25. We do have a minimum size for district grants. So your club has to contribute a minimum of $500 for each grant. And the maximum grant amount that the district will pay is $2,500. And the maximum of grants that each club can get is $7,000 total. So I know a lot of clubs in Maine only apply for one district grant. Feel free to think about applying for more. And also, all of this information and the forms and all the resources are now on the foundation page of the district website. So Doug, could you put a link to that in the chat for the foundation, just so people can have it once again? Okay, now on the next slide, we'll go over what's changed. Whoops, phone, let me get that off. So, sorry about that. What's changed in district grants? Okay, this year you, let's see how to say this. Okay, in the past, we gave larger matches for grants that were in an area of focus than the ones that were not. This year, we're giving the same large match to all projects, because the foundation committee thinks that you and the clubs are actually the best judge of what's going to be the best project for your club. So we want to give the same match to all projects. Number two, we increase the maximum dollars that we'll give each club. Again, we want to share more of the wealth from the Rotary Foundation with your club. And the third difference is that there's no longer a limit on the dollars that can go to a single project where lots of different clubs work on a piece of that project. So again, the foundation committee just thinks that if your club thinks it's a good idea for a project to team up with several other clubs, we want to support you in that decision. Okay, the next slide talks about what you need to do to get your grant application accepted. So it's going to be accepted if all these things are true as of May 31st, 2021. And what are those things? Well, your club has to be qualified. And you do that by sending people to attend the grants management seminar that's already occurred, and by signing the MOUs. Okay, you have to have emailed the application by May 31st for each district grant. You have to have contributed to the annual fund share a minimum of $40 per capita by May 31st. You have to be current on your grant reports, and you have to pay your dues too. So if all of this is true, then your grant application is accepted. So what happens next? Okay, this shows how the district grant funds are allocated. We just allocate funds in priority order. So first, we would give money to all of the grants that are in the first priority, all of the grants that clubs said this is our second priority, et cetera, until the district runs out of money. And if there's not enough money to fully fund a round, then the remaining money is spread between different groups. And there's an extremely unlikely thing could happen, but what if we didn't even have enough money to fund all the projects in the highest priority? Well, then we're going to give priority to clubs that have made the larger donations to the Rotary Foundation annual fund on a per capita basis of at least $100 per capita. Okay, so in other words, your grant is going to be funded as long as it fits in with the minimal requirements for a humanitarian project. And if your grant doesn't fit those requirements, we'll help you. So for example, let's say your grant requested that you wanted to donate the money to another nonprofit organization in your community. That's not a Rotary project, so Rotary won't fund that. But we can help you to say, okay, how about figuring out what partnering with that other organization and saying your money is going to be used for this specific sub-project that other organization does, then it becomes something that's eligible for this. Okay, so we have here an example of a COVID project. This is one where the Unity Area Rotary Club last spring wanted to help local farmers who had lost some of their market due to restaurants closing, and to help families who needed more food. So they purchased food directly from farmers, such as blueberries. And in the next slide, we'll see some photos of them actually doing hands-on service, packaging them into like family-sized portions, and then contributing them to the Unity Area Food Pantry. Okay, the next slide lets you show once again, where are the resources for district grants. Everything's on the district website. Come May, you'll mail those applications and the MOUs to this foundation email address. Again, that's on the website. You can find it there. But if anytime you've got any questions about district grants, the person that you need to get in touch with is Lincoln Ehrenbach, because he's the person on the main side that administers these district grants. Okay, next slide. Let's move along and talk about those larger global grants. Remember, these are projects for $30,000 or more. 30,000, that's a lot for a club project, but your club only has to come up with less than $10,000 to do that. The district and the Rotary Foundation would make up the rest. But $10,000 is still a pretty big chunk of change. So if your club is small, again, you could work together with other clubs to create a global grant project. So the photo here is from an example, a multi-club project. This was a water and sanitation project in a village in Guatemala. And 3 clubs worked together on the grant: Waterville, Waterville Sunrise, and Unity. Now, the main reason to do a global grant is to do good in the world. And it's very rewarding knowing that you're helping people around the world to help themselves to have a better life. And that's just the essence of Rotary. By doing a global grant project, your club will be right in the middle of doing Rotary work. And so in this example, Rotarians from 3 clubs spent a week in Guatemala working side by side with the villagers to build latrines. They paid for the trips themselves, obviously. And they found that doing the project built more enthusiasm for Rotary in their club. I mean, people talk about going on a Rotary service project and having a Rotary moment, you know, where you're working side by side with a couple of villagers, you're learning a little about their lives, and it really sort of forms a bond. And you hear about how clean running water and a latrine will improve their lives, and that makes you want to do just even more. Okay, the next slide. Global grants really can be easy, but many Rotarians think that for their club to work on a global grant project, it would just be too difficult. So you're in luck, because I'm willing to help any club in Maine and in Quebec that wants to put together a global grant project. And I'll walk you step by step through the process. I'll help you find the money. I'll help you find the partners in a project. I'll even help you drafting the text of the application. At the moment, I'm doing that with 2 clubs in Maine, and I'd be happy to do it for your club as well. So if you're interested, just give me a call, or better yet, send me an email. Next slide, please. Okay, so here is a little example of the minimum global grant funding. So if you go back to the last slide, please. Thank you. So the host club, the country where you're doing the project, they might put in $100. If you were working with 3 other clubs, then between the 3 clubs, you'd need to raise about $9,740. So that's, you know, $3,250 a piece. That might be possible for your club. The district then matches the club money at 1.15 to 1. And Rotary Foundation now matches that district money at 80%. And so this would give you your total funding of $30,000. Okay, next slide. Okay, someone talked about a superpower earlier on. Well, I want to talk about a global grant superpower of our district. So we're used to creating global grant projects in other countries, you know, Guatemala and Haiti and Togo, India, Nicaragua, etc. But other districts around the world do global grant projects in their own countries even if they're wealthy countries. So I was so excited when a group of Japanese and Thai Rotarians invited me to dinner to explain how they do this. So they partner together and they write 2 global grants, one that's done in Thailand and one that's done in Japan. And so every year they each do a project, 2 projects with each other. Okay, we could do that with other countries, but the superpower of our district is that we can do that within our district. We could have a project in Quebec where the partner club's in Maine. We could have a project that we do in Maine where the partner club is in Quebec. And while the US and Canada are both wealthy countries, our clubs can see real need in our own communities. And so we can create global grant projects that we do here in Maine and in Quebec. So to explore this in a little more detail, let's use another example. Can you, in the next slide? We can talk about next year's district governor project. Okay, so remember District Governor-elect Doug Curtis has chosen the new area of focus, supporting the environment. And that's pretty exciting. But he's also going to be using this superpower of our district. So his district project will be done right here in our own district. We'll have one project in Maine, another project in Quebec. So we'll be applying for 2 global grants for this district governor's project. But what's the exact project we will be doing? Well, you know that in most years, by the time of pets, next year's district project is already worked out with all the details. But it's different this year because this is a brand new area of focus. And so no Rotarians anywhere have done a global grant for sustaining the environment. So no one knows exactly what projects will be accepted by the Rotary Foundation. So what we're doing now is we have a committee of Rotarians from Maine and Quebec who are working out details for possible projects. And then they'll be running those possible projects past the staff at the Rotary Foundation, and we'll use their advice to find out what they will fund. And if there are any volunteers in your club that would like to be on that committee, just let us know. We'd be happy to add new ones. So not knowing exactly what the project is, but knowing it's going to be in the sustaining the environment, why should your clubs pledge to next year's district governor's project? Well, this will be the first time that we do the project right here at home, helping our own communities. And imagine how you might be able to recruit new Rotarians to your club by doing a high visibility, well-funded project in your own town. So that's the big picture plan for Doug's district governor's project using global grants. Next slide, please. Okay, so let's end with a celebration of the success of that multi-club global grant project I used as an example earlier. Well, the clubs certainly worked hard on the grant project, and representatives from the clubs traveled to Guatemala. They learned about life in a different world. It was hard work, but from the smiles, I think the Rotarians enjoyed their experience. But that wasn't the success of the project. The next slide illustrates the success of the project through before and after photos. On the top, we see the small spring where women had to gather several times a day to collect the murky water and then carry it up the hill on their heads to their homes. And they spent 3 to 4 hours a day hauling this murky, unsafe water. But on the bottom are the after pictures, the happy children, the clean running water at the outdoor sink in every home. So this is Rotary grant success. The next slide. So this is what Rotary grants are all about. Having our hearts touched when we see communities in need, doing projects, partnering with the communities to help solve the problems, changing lives, and repeating again and again. As you can tell, I get a little excited about Rotary grants, and we hope you can help your clubs get excited as well. So let's take a few minutes to answer any questions before I turn it over to Doug. Any questions on grants, on district grants or global grants? Okay, clear as mud. This looks good. Okay.
Hey, Deb.
Yep.
I want to remind everybody that's on the call tonight that the deadline is May 31st, which means that even though you're not president yet, your club needs to get your grants in for next year.
Good, very good reminder. Yeah, May 31st. Get those district grant applications in and submit more than one grant application, please.
There's a question in the chat wondering what the time frame is for when we will know about what the district project options are.
We hope to be able by the beginning of July to have gotten some feedback back from the Rotary Foundation. It's really going to depend on how fast the Rotary Foundation is in getting back with feedback. See, when we did other projects, when we did a water project, we knew you know, what Rotary would accept, what they wouldn't accept. This time it's going to be more of a conversation back and forth with the Rotary Foundation. So it's going to depend in part on staff at the Rotary Foundation having the time to answer our questions and us having the committee work together to generate the ideas as well. Good question.
Deb, I also wanted just to let people know, we have about 10 members on the committee already. And I'll just tell you a few of the names. From West Bay, we have George Abendroff. I get it. It's the secretary. Everybody knows George. Bar Harbor, Stephanie Muscat, who's the current president. In Quebec, we have from Subtil, I can't even pronounce this, Yves, you might have to help me out. Auremia Vajur, is that correct?
Orimar Jajur.
That's what I said, right?
Close enough.
And we have past district governor Jean-Louis Joly. From Old Town, we have Marcy Cote. From Waterville, Peter Garrett. From Farmington, Patty Cormier. From Unity, of course, Dr. Deb Walters. And from Quebec East, we have Serge Mellison. So we have a good group to start with, but we could always use one or two more. And particularly, I like to get some more on the Quebec side, Yves, if we can. So at least we have a start.
Great. Okay, so let me turn it over to Doug.
Okay, thanks, Deb. And Karina, if we could get back to, yeah, we had just a couple more there. And from what I'm learning in the chat, should I elaborate a little bit more on this slide? The chat being our texts that are going on.
Yes, Doug.
Okay. All right. Thank you, Scott. All right. So, you know, we've talked a lot about what the foundation is able to do for us and the benefit that it gives those people after we have made our contributions. Well, of course, in order to be able to rely upon continuing to get these fine contributions from our members or non-members, we need to recognize their contributions. So that's why the Paul Harris Award originated in the first place, was to recognize individuals who have contributed to the Rotary Foundation. Now, what I would really like to say about Paul Harris Award is please do not look at your receiving your first Paul Harris as being your end goal. You know, consider the fact that we're in a contest, so to speak. It's us against all of these needs that are out there in the world. And if we equate this to a baseball game, you know, that first Paul Harris, you're just about to the bottom of the first inning. And there are a lot more innings to go. So it's not the end of the game to get your first Paul Harris. Continue on doing a Paul Harris Award. If you can do it on an annual basis, that's where this pin that you see in the upper right comes from. That's the Paul Harris Society, where individuals give $1,000 a year to the annual program fund. So just bear that in mind. You know, try to not be complacent once you've received 1 or 2 Paul Harris, and then more pins with more jewels on the pin. Continue on. We don't know when our contest is over, because none of us know how long we'll be here on the earth. It is a timed event, but we just don't know what the end of that time is for any of us. So that's my urge as far as Paul Harris. Now, next slide, please, Karina. But not only do you have the individual awards, such as the Paul Harris Fellowship and recognition for same, but there are club contribution recognitions that exist as well, that are great goals for especially new presidents to have in mind. So you have the 100% Foundation Giving Club, and that banner is awarded to clubs that achieve an average of $100 in per capita giving and 100% participation, with every dues paying member contributing at least $25 to any or all of the following during the Rotary year: the annual fund, the Polio Plus Fund, approved global grants, or the endowment fund. And as you can see from some of these other banners here, you also have the 100% Paul Harris Fellow Club. And that's for a club to be eligible. Every dues paying member must be a Paul Harris Fellow at the time that the district governor requests banner recognition. This recognition is a one-time only award, but the intent is that the club will maintain its membership at the 100% Paul Harris Fellow level. So more recognition, obviously, is in hopes of even more contributions, keeping that particular banner valid. So you also have the 100% every Rotary. That's only 2 banners so far, Karina. You have the 100% every Rotarian every year club. Rotary clubs must achieve a minimum annual fund contribution of 100 per capita during the Rotary year, and every dues paying member must personally contribute at least $25 to the annual fund during the year. Now, there's also the 100% Rotary's Promise Club. Rotary clubs with 100% of members supporting the endowment are eligible to request a Rotary's Promise Club electronic certificate. Now that I don't have up here, but commitments for future gifts to the Rotary Foundation of $1,000 or more included in an estate plan, or outright gifts of $1,000 or more to the endowment will qualify as support. And then you have the top 3 per capita in annual fund giving. You have the 100% Paul Harris Society Club. This is obviously the recognition awarded to clubs to which every dues paying member has contributed a minimum of $1,000 to the annual fund, the Polio Plus Fund, or an approved global grant during the Rotary year. Okay, and that pretty much covers the awards that a club could get as recognition for what their members contribute to the Rotary Foundation. So these are some goals that for presidents to consider. All right, Karina, I'm done.
All right, so we're going to change the format a little bit since we're running short on time. The Foundation Brady Bunch isn't going to be quite what it was. I'm going to mention very quickly a few things that I think that you guys would all be really well served looking up further. Actually, I think I have enough time. I'd like to just talk about one thing that Doug had just mentioned. He said some of those awards are for a donation to the endowment fund. Anybody who's been around a long time might have known that as the permanent fund, but it's an endowment. I was very happy they changed the name to what it really is. So anyway, that is another way, and you can give to that endowment fund. The principal is not touched. All of the proceeds from that every year go back into the annual fund of Rotary International, which is the main checkbook of Rotary International. So to help with all of the projects that go on in Rotary. And you can do donations there through your will or life insurance policy or any of that, you know, the way you typically would give to an endowment. So that is what that is. And all of these things have different kinds of recognition. So go online and check it out. You've got your Paul Harris Fellows, and then there are different awards for all of the different types of giving in the different funds. Let's see, Rotary Peace Centers and Scholarships. That's one of the huge, those are two of the huge things that are supported by the Rotary Foundation. Our Peace Centers actually exist as academic programs within different universities worldwide, and students can go to those courses of study and actually graduate with a degree in peace and conflict resolution, and they can go anywhere in the world with that. And that's really amazing. It's one of the favorite things that I like about Rotary, is really teaching people how to make peace. I mean, that's pretty cool. And scholarships there are scholarships available for people to go there. Yes, Doug?
If I could add some exciting news to that too.
Really fast?
Yes, we've been blessed to have an excellent candidate come forward, and strangely enough, I didn't know this person existed, but she lives right here in Farmington. And so I've already put in a letter of recommendation into the Peace Centers. But also, there's another exciting bit of news that came out of the Peace Centers from R.K. Ravindran, the past Rotary International president. He's now the chair of the Peace Centers, the trustee chair for the Rotary Foundation. And there has been a $15.5 million gift that has been given to the Peace Centers in order to establish another Peace Center in Northern Africa or in the Middle East. They're not sure which of the two it's going to be in. It's going to be opening in 2026. And that contribution came out of the Otto and Fran Walter Foundation, which is based out of Booth Bay, Maine.
Wow.
Oh, wow. Wonderful. So as you can see, there are all kinds of opportunities there for you to look at. And The last thing, of course, not the last thing, but the next thing is polio. Polio Plus is a huge part of our giving and of the Rotary Foundation, although it's kind of taken on a life of its own, so it's a part of the foundation that you can give to directly, just as if you were giving to the permanent fund or the annual fund. You can give, you can actually designate gifts all over the place, so you can give to whatever kind of whatever you want to within Rotary. And those are the kinds of things that you will learn at the annual foundation seminar. Every year in November, there's a foundation seminar, and there's also a grant seminar. When are the grant seminar going to be? April, May? It's like a different time of year.
No, grants management seminars in November so that people can
Are you doing
plan
that one?
ahead.
Okay,
Yeah, we do both of them in November
okay.
so
I thought it was
clubs can
changed
plan
last year
ahead
for some reason.
Yeah.
So they're both in November. So that means, you guys are at a bit of a disadvantage learning about this now, but there's no seminar until November. You have to rely on what the president before you did to make sure that hopefully you're qualified in order to get your grants in. So this is something that's going to happen more toward the end of your year, after you go and you get certified at the grants management seminar, and then you go to the foundation seminar and learn amazing stories about what goes on at the Rotary Foundation, and all of the ways of giving too. We didn't have time to get into that, but there are in our resources document, I believe there's a link to Rotary Direct in there. I think. If not, Doug will put it on there. And Rotary Direct is how you sign up to have money automatically just taken out of your checking account every month or off your credit card every month. And man, does that make it easy. I just check the little button and, I do $10 a month. It's $8 something a month to get your $100 a year for sustaining membership. But, so I just round it up to 10 and I never see it and I don't even think about it. But that goes along with what Doug was saying about once you hit that $1,000, don't stop, just, let it ride. It's a really, really, really good cause. As you heard Deb talking about the Charity Navigator statistics, those are just amazing. Is there any, Scott, did you want to, so I mentioned briefly Polio Plus, I wanted to give you a couple minutes to give a quick update. That's always a highlight for people.
Well, just real quick, I'm going to put in my contact information in the chat box. I would love to have an opportunity to speak to your clubs. It doesn't have to be around October. One of the misconceptions people think that we only talk polio during the month of October, where World Polio Day is. Last week, I did another presentation at the Old Town Rotary Club. It was a lot of fun. With Zoom these days, I can log into any club at any time. It's a really easy way of doing it. I've been able to update our presentation to include a lot of information about COVID-19, the impact it had on Polio Plus and the vaccination drives. This week is vaccination week, so there are a lot of immunization drives going on right now. If you haven't followed polio on Facebook, go to End Polio Now on Facebook or any of the other social media outlets. But really, if you do want to have a presentation, happy to join any club for a presentation at any point in time throughout the year.
Thank you, Scott. Were there any other things you guys wanted to hit on before we take a break?
I'll just add one thing about the Paul Harris Awards that a Rotarian in Virginia just pointed out to me last week. So it's $1,000 to get the Paul Harris Award. That's the same amount it's been ever since it was founded. It's a bargain to us these days. So that's why we don't stop with one. I mean, it used to be a huge thing to get to 1,000.
Right. Huh, I never thought of it that way. That's a good point, huh? Yep. All right, so we'll come back at 7 and get into some strategic planning for the rest of the time we're here tonight.
There is a question for when we return. Is there a list of who got credit for the November grant training? Who's qualified? I believe your foundation chair should be able to tell you that.
What a good looking group this is. Scott almost looks like he's got hair.
That was a great picture.
It was. It is.
It is, right?
Right. Deb, how was everything at home?
Mute. Yeah, it was very hectic. When your 96-year-old mother decides it's finally time to move out of her 3-story house into an apartment, and there's years of stuff to go through. But it was good to finally be vaccinated so that I could go down and help her out.
Good. I'm sure she appreciated it. Corona, give me a little time at the end to thank my team, will you?
Were you talking to someone, Doug?
Did I not pronounce your name correctly?
No, you did not.
Miss Corinna?
No, not the town. Come on.
Carolyn left me. She leaves me on these important moments.
Come on, you could do it.
Corina.
Yes.
Corina. Oh my God, it's hilarious. Did I say Corinna again?
Yes. That's why I didn't answer you. But that doesn't work either.
You know, well, if you were Corinna, you'd be 19 years young and you'd be going to school.
Don't
That's who
confuse
Corinna
the
is.
issue. You're
So I have
never
to go
gonna
with
remember my
Corina.
name.
Corina.
It was a song.
Corina.
Corina. Come on.
How are things today at UMaine? Were they good?
This is humane for me. It's home.
Oh.
I'm home.
Okay. So you go in, do you ever go in like once or twice a week or no? And nothing?
No, I haven't been in for a year.
Well, I guess I can't meet you there then.
Nope. Nope. My vaccine's not totally effective until like the 29th, 30th,
Mhm.
something like that.
I'd be curious to know how many clubs are actually meeting in person now.
Don't know. We're waiting until everyone's vaccinated, but we've had a pretty good, turnout on Zoom. The weather's been an issue lately. I think we've had a little bit of a decrease, but it goes up and down, but it's been really consistent, so.
Good. Well, it looks like the European Union is going to let us in this summer. I don't know about Canada though.
All right. It is 7 o'clock. I'm really excited for this last session. Scott has been working on it for hours. So it's going to be amazing. No pressure.
No pressure at all.
No pressure. So one of the biggest things that will serve you the best throughout the whole rest of your year is if you can get some of this strategic planning done ahead of your year with your club and set some really good goals using all of the things that we've been hearing about for the last few weeks, really hitting those highlights and thinking about what you can bring to your club, and then learning from your club what they need and coming up with some really good goals for that. And the rest of the time this evening, we're going to be talking about just how to do that and how to approach your club. So I'm going to turn it over to Scott, and he'll talk to us about strategic planning.
All right. Do you want to run the slides, Karina? There you go. Perfect. So I just want to, thank you guys for your time tonight. I know it's been a long few sessions we've had behind us here, and moving forward, we're wrapping things up tonight, but this is a really important area that I think every club president coming in really needs to focus on. As a club president, you're going to be in a unique position of strength to strengthen relationships, discover and celebrate your club's diverse perspectives, and apply your members' professional experience and expertise to improve communities at home, but also around the world. In your role as president, you're going to lead your club, engage them and inspire members, and promote Rotary in your community. So the question is, how will you connect with leaders in your community, club, and district to make a positive and lasting change? In planning for a year, you'll also set goals and create an action plan to accomplish these goals. Next slide, please. Your club's strategic plan is a long-term commitment requiring the support of all your members. Clubs that follow strategic plans report higher levels of member engagement, retention, and satisfaction. Clubs with more engaged members are more successful at achieving their goals. By now, I'm sure that you've given thought as to what you want to accomplish during your year as president. What are your goals for your year as club president? How will you accomplish these goals? You're going to be working with your club's leadership team to set these goals for your year, for this club president year, and then after. Some of the tools that you have available to you are your president's manual, which we've already reviewed in the first session, the Be a Vibrant Club worksheet, the strategic planning guide for developing your goals and action plans. So don't forget to enter your goals into Rotary Club Central. We've talked about that earlier meetings, but it's still a reminder. It's very important. Don't forget to enter your goals in Rotary Club Central. Next slide. Back in 2017, Rotary adopted a new vision statement to guide the organization into the future. Together, we see a world where people unite and take action to create lasting change across the globe, in our communities, and in ourselves. Consider how your club is going to further this vision as you set your goals for your year as president. Next slide, please. Now, this is straight from the strategic planning guide, mentioning at last week's training and the Rotary Action Plan. For 5 years, 4 priorities. Keep this in mind as you go forward. This is what Rotary has actually put out. Rotary International encourages clubs and districts to align their goals with the Rotary Action Plan. So as you can see, the increasing of our impact, expanding our reach, enhancing participant engagement, increasing our ability to adapt, which I think is one of the most challenging items, but you need to focus on it. Next slide. So you need to engage your members in this process. You may want to dedicate a club meeting or a strategic planning session. Remember, we talked about club assemblies. This might be an opportunity to have a club assembly where you can actually start developing these strategic plans. But I actually would challenge you to go one step further and having almost like a retreat. I know in years in past, when I was club president, we actually had a Saturday morning retreat for our club where we had invited all club committee chairs. We had invited all board of director members, and we actually were with a whiteboard spelling out what our goals were for the upcoming year, and also what we were hoping to accomplish in a 3-year goal and a 5-year goal. And we had 20 to 30 people participating in that type of retreat. And it was a great way of engaging and getting great conversation back and forth. So it was actually a half-a-day retreat that we did for this. So maybe you ought to start thinking about what could you do in the next few months as you're leading up to your year, whether it be a club assembly meeting or an actual full-on retreat, maybe even over Zoom if need be. I would also suggest that you might want to find out, taking a survey of what your club wants to do in advance of this. Ask your club members to complete a survey so you can design your work session and maximize your time. Next slide, please. Oh, there we are. Thank you. So when you're doing a strategic plan, you got to look at some different areas. Where are we? What's your strength, your weaknesses, your opportunities, and your challenges? Where do we want to be? Maybe you're looking at membership, your foundation, local and international projects. As you're doing that strategic planning, how do we get there? What's your goals, the resources that we have available? What's your timeline, and what members are going to be assigned to this? Another important thing not to forget is, how are we doing? You need to monitor your progress. Next slide. One of the tools that I was introduced to many years ago and during through President-elect training was a SWOT analysis. This is actually something I've actually developed and used in my own professional organization. By doing a SWOT analysis, you're looking at what your strengths, that's the S, weaknesses, the W, what are the opportunities, and then what are the threats facing your club, and how are you going to lead your club? So let's go to the next slide. I just wanted to give you guys an example of an analysis that you could potentially do. Sample club goal. Maybe you want to increase your foundation giving by 10% each year for the next 3 years. As a club, how would you achieve this? So let's look at the next slide. You need to identify your strengths. And I'll just say for our club's membership is very generous in their giving. We have several core club members who are already contributing to the Rotary Foundation. Board and club leadership endorse this goal and will be supporting the efforts needed to achieve this goal. You want to make sure you have that adoption. But we also recognize that we have many weaknesses, some of them being membership doesn't fully understand the Rotary Foundation. Maybe our club doesn't actually have a foundation committee that we need to make sure that we have one formalized. Lack of an understanding on how members can contribute. Maybe membership doesn't understand Rotary Direct. Maybe they don't understand that they can go online and make those donations. And then members need to be led to the end point, the need to be guided there step by step, and motivation by members to do something new. Next slide. So when we look at the opportunities section of this analysis, we have the ability to set up those Rotary Direct accounts. Maybe you take a club meeting, bring in a few laptops, and actually sit down with your members and get them signed up right there on site. Build in a foundation contribution into your membership dues form. That's one of the things that our club had done a few years ago. Is we have a line item that you can actually fill in. If you'd like to make a $100 donation, you can do so right there on your membership dues form. Several areas of focus within the foundation might attract interest and support. So with the introduction of the environmental focus, that might be something that attracts some of your membership saying, yeah, I'd like to support that. They might not even be aware it's an area of focus right now because it is so new, but that's something you might want to educate. And members who want to volunteer for the foundation committee. One of the things that we need to have is more volunteers to step up for these committees. So you might be able to find some new blood, some fresh blood to join those type of foundation committees. But you also need to know that there are some threats out there that might prevent you from this goal. Rotarians right now are being asked to donate money too many times during the club year. That's one of the things that we've heard from our members. We have the annual fundraiser, we have our membership dues, and we have Polio Plus. Seems like every month I'm getting my checkbook out for something. So that is a threat that we might not be, asking our membership for too much throughout the course of the year. There's always been a great fear, especially in our own club, I've seen it, of money leaving the local community. People always say that to me, like, I hate to put money out into this foundation because it goes right outside of the area of the state of Maine and it's never going to impact the people here in our local communities. That's a threat for people having that type of mentality, and you have to, certainly work with that. There's also been a concern for stewardship of the foundation dollars. But as Deb mentioned earlier tonight in her presentation, I don't think you're going to find a higher level of stewardship when it comes to the foundation because we are such a highly rated foundation that we are part of. But it is certainly a concern that could be a threat. And the lack of club tracking and monitoring for this goal. If you don't have a system in place, that can certainly be a challenge to track how well are you doing to achieving this goal. Next slide. So some action steps. Who will be responsible? You really need to start taking down names. And that's one of the things I recommend. It's if you're going to assign, if you're going to ask for volunteers, make sure they step into that responsibility, make sure that they have ownership of that. How long will this stuff take place? How is the progress going to be measured? And then what are the resources that you already have available? So these are some of the things to start thinking about with your action steps. Next slide. Action step number 1, dedicate a specific educational program for club members. So again, we're going back to that foundation giving goal that I had put in place. I want to make sure that our membership has a better understanding what the foundation does, the programs it supports, and I want to highlight both local and international projects. So who's going to be doing this? Well, hopefully it's the foundation chair for your club or foundation committee that you've had formed. Again, if you haven't asked for somebody to be your foundation committee chair for the upcoming plan or presidential year, you really want to get onto that right now. How long will this project be? Well, for this action step, we were looking to use the month of November as being the foundation month. So the goal was using that whole month of November to really help educate our membership of what the foundation is doing. How will this progress be measured? Well, we're looking to do a survey to the club prior to the month and then follow up after that month's over with to see if there is a better understanding and if there's a better focus for our club. So what resources do I have available to me as a club president if I want to take this on? Well, the Rotary Foundation is a huge resource for you to have access to. Rotary.org, you can go right to the foundation section of the site. You're going to see many educational materials all available to you to download. You can also contact anybody here on the local district foundation committee. As Deb Walters, who's our great leader, she'd be more than happy, I'm sure, to step in, but any of us who are part of that committee would certainly be a role to kind of go to have any questions answered or to have any resources. And then maybe you want to start featuring some district project success stories. Doesn't have to necessarily be for your own club, but if you found that the Waterville reading program with Tina Chapman's an interesting program, I've actually had Tina come speak to our club about Rotary Reads, and it was a fantastic way of highlighting what some of these foundation committee projects really are. Next slide. Action step number 2 is to educate and assist members to making contributions to the Rotary Foundation easier. As I mentioned, we can add a line into the membership due statement, distribute Rotary Direct flyers throughout the month of November, maybe stay after the club meetings and actually have a laptop available for helping people complete that online. So again, you got to decide who's going to do this for you. Is it going to be the foundation chair or maybe even the club treasurer? How long are you going to be doing this for? Again, our focus was the month of November. How will you be monitoring the progress? Track the foundation giving through Rotary.org. There's foundation reports that you can have access to see who's given and how active they are. And again, the resources that I highlighted in the last slide are still available to you on this. So that's just one example of a SWOT analysis and the action steps that we were able to continue from out of that. So if we go to the next slide, Karina. Tonight, I was actually hoping that everybody would actually be able to be a part of their own SWOT analysis. And the tool that we introduced a few weeks ago, the Jam boards, are coming back again. We're going to use this as a tool. We're going to do a breakout session where I'm going to give everybody a goal, the same goal. And we're going to ask you guys to go to these breakout rooms, and you're going to be able to have some ideas of how to do a SWOT analysis. And there's going to be a leader in each of the rooms from the district training team that'll help walk through that. So the goal that I've actually put out tonight that I have for a club goal, let's look to increase membership by 10 members over the next 3 years. Again, membership is always a challenge, but we've heard some presentations from Tina Chapman, some things that we can start looking outside the box to do. So what can we do to get 10 new members over the next 3 years? So again, not necessarily just your club year. It'd be great if it was in one club year, but if we could actually start doing a strategic plan over a few presidential years, how do we get to the goal of achieving 10 plus members in our club over the next 3 years? So with that, I'm going to turn it back over to our fearless leader, Karina, to help break out these groups into work sessions and give us a time for everyone to come back.
I'm going to set the groups right now. Either Scott, Robin, Doug, or I will be in your group with you, and we'll take you through the Jamboard just like in the service projects that we did. So I'm going to go ahead and what time?
One thing to mention to the leaders, remember on the Jamboard, there's 2 pages, so you can access the second page at the very top. Robin and Doug and Karina, you probably remember this, but
yep,
just as a reminder.
Right. And I think if we can use up to a half hour in the room discussing this goal and really coming up with some good ideas for what we're going to do. And we can't use the ones you already showed us, right, Scott?
If they could apply, they certainly, I'm not robbing good ideas from other projects, is certainly allowed.
All right, so I will set the rooms now. Let me move I can't find myself there.
In search of yourself.
I am. I need to move myself to a room. I think,
Don't you stay in the main room?
no, I
Oh,
did that last time and I ended up with no room and you guys had everybody. I think I can join a room after.
Okay.
You can.
It'll be room 4. Yes, because Scott's there. Okay, here we go. Lucky you guys got me.
Good evening.
Good evening. I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see the Jamboard. Whoops. Good. First thing I do is wrong. There we go. So what we did was divide it. This is what you typically see in a SWOT analysis. Over the years, they've changed it a little bit, but it's basically all the same thing. A lot of times they change the T because threats is a little too aggressive sometimes, but they're basically just the challenges that you see in your club. So strengths and weaknesses, those two things apply to your club as a group. So that's internal. Opportunities and threats are more external, right? They're the things going on around your club. Some of them might be within the club, but usually the threats come from outside that would cause an issue with a specific goal. But there are, definitely threats within clubs or challenges, obstacles, those just things that you need to be considerate of within the club as well. So we want to add 10 members. So I guess that's net 10 over the next 3 years. What kinds, and when you're giving me these strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, just think about your own club. Do this from your own club. So we'll have an interesting club looking here at the end. But think about your own club, and can somebody tell me some of the strengths or anything, a strength of their club that can help them get to 10 plus members over the next 3 years?
This is Victoria from Augusta. Our club has been in Augusta for a long time. So we have history here, and we also have consistency in our meetings. We've never stopped. So I think consistency is something people probably look for.
Consistency?
Longevity.
I have history in the community and consistency. When you say consistency, you mean it's always been a positive?
Well, I mean, for COVID, since COVID times, we haven't stopped. So we've publicized like on our Facebook that we're here. You can join any way you want. Just log on, come in.
Yeah. So your reliability.
So for us in Skowhegan, this is kind of specific for this year, but it's going to be our 100th anniversary. So we certainly have longevity, and that may draw some people to us.
So celebrations, that any big celebrations that any of your clubs do could definitely be a strength for the year.
We have a lot of community service projects in Old Town in which we could engage more people from the community. And I think the Area 9 joint project for the Rotary Quarter Mile is a good example of where we're all working together also in the district. So we can be cross-pollinating within our Area 9 and in the district.
What are some of the other things people have their clubs are good at?
Well, we do a lot of work for the schools and the children. And I think that there's a large group of people in our community that really like to focus on youth. We're doing a backpack program for the whole district, and we have been for quite a while. And I think people like that, feeling, trying to end hunger.
So is it food insecurity or youth?
Yeah.
That's both?
No, I'd say, well, it's food insecurity in youth.
Okay. All right, so that's that kind of goes again whoops, I wanted to get rid of that one. The community projects and visibility, right? So
Yeah.
that would be a specific group or never mind, I'll just write youth food insecurity. I was trying to make it more general, but it's a projects that you do, and it's another way that you get visibility in the community. Very good. Anybody else?
Well,
Go ahead.
I was going to say, I'm a visitor, so I'm just going to just chime in. I think the membership of every club is important, and the strength.
Definitely. So they're.
We've recently had.
Say that, Pat?
We've recently had a young president, so Carrie has been very successful at recruiting younger members, which is awesome. We're no longer the youngest, Karina, but it's a good
I know,
thing.
Right? So that's a strength that we have young members in our club, and we use them to recruit more young members.
I guess I would add, this is Kirsten from Farmington. I have to behave myself because Doug's on your team.
No, you don't.
Oh, yes, I do. But I work at the university, and so we've started to do a lot more collaboration between Rotary, the university, and somebody else in town, whatever the project might be. We do a pajama drive every winter, and this year we collected over 900 sets of pajamas just from collaborating with different entities in town, in the area, as well as financial contributions. So, and our goal was 400. So,
but having that collaboration is really gives your club is a strength for your club.
Yeah.
Excellent. Anybody have any more strengths before we move on to
Karina? This is Farrellyn from the Rockland Club.
Yep.
And this wasn't intentional, but we have a strong woman presence in our club.
Like that.
I was going to add that we have great programs. And in part, we are small town, we're next door to the University of Maine. So Karina and I work at the University of Maine on campus. So we're able to access some great speakers and talent that way as well.
Mm-hmm.
And students, which are the greatest presenters. It's always great to have student presenters.
Yeah. So a lot of these are the things that you've already heard about in what we've been talking about this whole time, that things that make a vibrant club, right? Having strong members, having fun, having a lot of projects. So you're out there in the community. So that's an awesome list. What about the weaknesses in your club that you think will make it hard to get those new members?
I think the current Zoom meeting atmosphere is a little challenging for recruiting new members. Although we've had some great speakers, so I don't know that.
Yep. That has definitely been a challenge.
In our club, we have members who have been there for years and years. And the problem is getting them to attend and understanding why they're not attending. So our roster is big, but our weekly or our bi-monthly attendance is a little on the low side. It's probably half. It's something I'd like to, in my presidency, understand more why people don't go.
That's it's a good question. Sounds like one of those surveys, like what Scott mentioned.
They're so proud to be, I've been a member for years and it's like, well, why aren't you coming?
We call those rhinos. Rotarian in name only. Yep. There are some of those, and there's always some of that, but there are things that might be a legitimate reason that maybe you can work on, right? I feel a goal coming on, Victoria.
Yes. Oh, definitely. Like, what's the root problem here?
What else? What are some of the other membership? Does anybody have members that make it more difficult? Well, we've always done it this way kind of thing. Is some clubs that's an issue, some it's not so much, but it can be an issue.
Yeah.
Yes, it can be.
Okay, I'll take that as a yes.
Yeah, I think that's probably with any club. Just
I think there's a lot of people that don't want to have to pay such significant dues.
Oh,
that was going to fall into mine. Yeah, our location, population, and we're in an impoverished area, so they can't afford the dues. Yes.
Right.
Right.
I think it's also hard for people to recruit people unless they always recruit people like themselves, right? So it's great we've got some younger members, but encouraging diversity is a real challenge.
Yeah, like we only have 2 men in this whole breakout room.
And lack of access to technology for some members has been a problem during the pandemic.
So that was a problem for us where we meet, but we finally were able to overcome that so that we can do both in person and Zoom.
Wonderful. Yeah, it definitely takes a champion in your club. And I mean, I think every club should have a technology goal, because you cannot be an effective president without really being able to do email super well and knowing what you're doing. You can't be a really effective committee member if you can't reach out to people in a variety of different ways. And if you want to get those young members in your club, you better be able to text. My president, our new president, is very young, and we like have these texts. That's how it's done. So it's opening people up to all of those. challenges, right? How about opportunities? What are some things that you can see coming in your community or in Maine or actually, I mean,
Well, I think when we get to see the real light at the end of the tunnel with this pandemic, I know for Farmington, they're gonna be thrilled to go back and meeting in person once the university lifts its restrictions a little bit.
Yep.
People have a hard time right now understanding why we appear to not follow the state guidelines. And so I have to tell them that, you know, the system is driven by its own group. In addition to CDC, in addition to the state. So that's a hard sell right now.
Yep. Yep. It's going to be very different. I think that COVID has trained people in technology, whether they liked it or not. And a lot of people are finding that at least we have this, you know, we have this way to be connected. And our club is going, well, geez, how can we ever, because we've been so successful with Zoom, how can we ever have another snow day from a meeting? We probably won't. We'll probably do Zoom meetings instead, or, you know, different things like that.
Yeah, and I think with the potential of a hybrid meeting, you can entertain your speakers from anywhere in the world. You know, I mean, that's an opportunity that we wouldn't have if they were coming to a live meeting. So, you know, just being able to Zoom anybody in from anywhere is it's pretty exciting.
Speaker, not audience.
Can I jump in, Karina?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think one of the opportunities coming is the needs of our community. So we can jump on that and be more active.
Yep. After and because of COVID, like things, the needs will change, could change quite a bit. Yep. How about threats?
There are clubs, I think other type, our BNI group is very active in our area and seems to just be, oh, we're growing. And I'm like, oh man, they're I think they're doing great things and they have a mission and they're having success at that. So I'm not disrespecting other organizations. I think it's a bummer to see Rotary members go over there, or people who I knew were in Kiwanis going to BNI, and just, you know, Augusta's got a decent population, but it's not a huge city. And having these business leaders, you want them, and of course, in your club, my club, you know, so I think competing is a challenge for us.
Yeah, we've heard that feedback too. And is the BNI is actually just less expensive, I think, for some folks. So it goes back to the dues thing.
That's interesting because I was in both BNI and Rotary. They're so total. What I'm guessing is
it's so different. I agree. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Karina. That they're, there's one
that's not the main focus of Rotary. It should.
But a lot of people, right? But a lot of people will join for the networking.
Yep.
Part of that. I agree.
And so the civic responsibility kind of feel that what I love about Rotary. Why I'm here.
Yes, absolutely.
So how do you differentiate yourself from those competing clubs?
Right.
I think you're attracting people who are really looking to make a difference in the community
That's
when
right.
you're, you know, with Rotary versus, you know, the networking
Yep.
priority.
Yeah.
So,
What are some other threats? Is the economy? We don't know.
I think people are just so busy that they just don't have time to fit in volunteering.
Yep. I think affordability can go here as well. Access to technology.
I think you can have a kind of a two-tier system that sort of engages some people like on overdrive, which can threaten other members for feeling like they're not, they can't compete at that level.
Yep. Yep.
Intimidate, maybe.
Intimidate, yes. That's a good thing to just talk about. I mean, yeah, this is what I do, but I think that as a president-elect, it's your job really to get that across, because there are, you know, I'm president, I'm going to be very busy this year doing this all for the club, but I know that everybody can't do this, but can you do this one thing? Can you call all the people that we don't see on Zoom every week so that we know that they're okay, you know, that we're reaching out? And can you, you know, small things to get everybody involved is really a good way to help with that too.
It's finding their niche.
Yep. And that's where not having pets in person, when we do that really quick compass activity where you can see what people's very basic makeup is and do that with your club, it really helps. So this is another thing you can do with your club, is some sort of personality test. I mean, Myers-Briggs is really involved. And if you look up the, I don't know what it's called, it's compass activity. I think we might have put that in the resources. I'll see if we have, but it's another good way to know that you're asking the right kind of person to do the right kind of job. All right, so what kinds of action steps should we make here? Taking all this stuff into consideration.
Invite people to attend a meeting. Invite non-members.
Okay, so who's going to do the inviting, and how many invitations are people going to send, and you know, how are we going to measure this? That's a great idea. Now, how do we word it in a way that we can make this measurable?
Well, we did, I know we do some invitations and then we do like an orientation, so people get a better sense of all the different components of Rotary. And it happens separate from the invitation. You know, you're invited one week, but then there might be a
You talking about Rotary information for new members?
Yeah, maybe I'm a step ahead.
But no, that's a really good idea, though. Some people have different kinds of events. Like if you had a big event where you were bringing in all these new people and then gave them a little spiel about the orientation kind of part of it. That's what I thought you were talking about, but maybe you're just.
Well, we invite, let's say there's 3 or 4 people that you want to invite. And then we've done some almost like a dessert sort of reception.
Okay.
Where they come and they meet a smaller group of Rotarians. And each one of us talks about whatever our particular niche is within the club.
So how many people do you want to have as a goal at the reception? Just make something up. 10, 20?
10.
And Pat, was yours more about inviting them like one new person a week to a meeting, or like what were you thinking with yours?
I was thinking more about to a meeting or to a service project.
Ah. So what do you want it like? What if we said like 2 a month, and it could be to a meeting or to okay.
So are you talking each member to invite 2 new people?
Well,
no, I would say as a club.
As a club?
If you got, everybody to participate in a way that we collectively got 2 new people to an activity.
Have presidents ever done like a drawing or something I was just trying to brainstorm about engagement for having people do, like, if you bring a guest, you get put into a drawing and each quarter will draw.
Bribery, it's great.
Yeah, well, and my profession is a fundraiser and marketing. So getting, I could get things, I wouldn't be spending club money on club prizes. I could get things donated for club prizes. Just little things that might make it fun. Is that something people do?
Yeah, you can, absolutely. So who's going to be responsible for one of these or either one of these?
Every member.
As president, you're ultimately responsible, right?
Well, as president, you're ultimately responsible, but you can't do all that work. You need to assign it to a chairperson or a committee to do the work.
Well, the membership chair then.
Yep.
I'd also look at the past president.
That's a good idea.
I think every member should be responsible to bring a guest.
Yes, but one person has to be responsible for the goal.
Okay.
For the actual, if you look back at, I can't remember Scott's things, we have to have somebody who's responsible, and then we have to, yep.
Okay.
So the membership chair will be responsible for that. I wish we could.
I wish we could
go ahead.
I wish we could convert more guest speakers to members. We've been successful at getting business owners in the community to come and present to us.
That's true.
Just to let you know, Karina, we have been 29 minutes. And
what?
We are in rooms, and you said 30 minutes in
Oh,
rooms?
yeah, I did.
Yeah.
All right.
1 minute's left.
Excellent. So I better send out the reminder. Is that why they're texting me?
Karina, come back.
I gotta find it. What? Breakout rooms. All right. Oh my gosh. Computer, set a timer for 1 minute. I have to close it manually. Who's going to be in charge of inviting 2 prospects monthly to a club meeting? So you're gonna have an event at some point during your year?
Sorry, I don't know that one.
I wasn't talking to you. And you're going to have
I thought I heard my name.
2 people a month to your meeting or an activity. Who's going to, it's actually easy to measure, right? Because you've got the numbers right in it. So that's easy. It would probably be the membership chair and the membership committee that would do this. Do any of your clubs not have a membership committee? Oh, you do not.
Yeah, so this has been so fun seeing that there is a committee structure, because all I know is my Rotary, and I'm excited to have people be part of committees, and maybe
Yeah.
that responsibility will foster some engagement at the club level,
Yep,
I think.
that's amazing.
Yeah, so
Good.
music to my ears.
All right, I'm gonna close us out and we'll go back to the main group. Thank you guys for your participation.
Where's our fearless leader? Where are you? You're in here somewhere. You're muted.
Not a bad thing. I'm not even gonna
Nice.
tell you what I said.
No respect. Guys are mean.
Well, we got the memo that you guys were all leaving, so we left the room and we all came back here and been here for like 2 minutes.
When I said leaving in 1 minute,
No, when Scott, all I saw was we're wrapping up. So we wrapped up and
oh no, I did the breakout room for a minute and then
yeah, there we go.
I set a timer for a minute this time. So I actually didn't close all the rooms after I said you have a minute.
Well, here we are.
Here we are. So Scott, what do you want to do next?
Well, I think, we're coming to a close, but as I was just closing out with my group, I was just saying the membership, our discussion took a lot on with the membership itself. But again, the reason we had this whole session was the strategic planning itself. Make sure that this is one club goal. You can do a SWOT analysis for every one of your goals for the year and really get your buy-in. A strategic planning meeting is very important. If you don't have one scheduled already, I would highly recommend getting something on the calendar as soon as possible. And you may want to do this as a outside excursion that, like I mentioned earlier on, maybe take a Saturday leading into your year or some evening, have cocktails and really go through an agenda and have some specific goals and strategies on how you're going to accomplish that. But I think, you're going to have so many things thrown at you during your presidential year. Right now is the time to do the strategic planning, track it, follow through, delegate, and make everybody accountable for what's going on. So strategic planning, I can't emphasize that enough. It's going to help you achieve a lot of your goals this year.
And the membership goals are easier to come up with because you always really want to have a membership goal every year. But there might also be a way to do the analysis when you're looking through and talking about things. If you do it without a specific goal in mind, just look in general, what are the strengths of your club? Just in general, what are the weaknesses? Those might help you when you're looking through to come up with other goals for your club that you might not have been thinking of. So,
I'll tell you that it's really easy to pat ourselves on the back when we talk about strengths. Sometimes sitting down and talking about your weaknesses and the threats to those can be just as important than talking about your strengths. You really need to understand what are your weaknesses in order to achieve things.
Was everybody's strength column biggest? Ours was. Yeah.
Yeah, we had a fair amount of discussion, and I'll add some a best practice as well, as I told my group here. Reach out to your fellow presidents, find out what they're struggling with, because they may have a solution that you don't, and you may have something to offer them that they don't have. You know, it gets you thinking in a different way. Don't be afraid to share your ideas or reach out for help. You know, that's as I said to them, part of pets is getting to know one another and contacting and reaching out and saying, hey, I see you've got that going on. How did you do it? So we're going to share these boards after the fact. Yes.
Yeah, because all the boards have the 2-page, it'll all PDF. Yeah.
Yep. What else?
Right. Are there any questions or anything? Last year we had some requests to that we can go places and help people do their strategic planning when things settle down. I mean, that was something that we had always done. There are people who you can get. Frequently, there are people in your club who have done these, who wouldn't mind leading the group through the exercise. And there are many different ways to do this. This SWOT analysis is just one way of doing a strategic planning, but it just kind of in a very easy format gives you the things to think about the most when you're talking about coming up with goals or talking about the strength of your club and what you need to do to make your club or your community better. So, any
Karina?
questions? Yeah.
I don't have a question. What I'd like to do is say how much I appreciate the time and energy that the training committee for pets has given to us. The information has been so forthright that it's understandable and it tracks. And I know that it doesn't just happen. So thank you for everybody who's done this. I've learned a lot. I plan to learn a lot more, and thank you for your endeavors.
You're welcome. And it's a great team that at the district level that works to get out as much information as they can. So yes, we appreciate that very much, Judith. So this is it. This is the last time we will have that technology training. But as far as pets goes, this is your last hurrah. Are there any questions, comments, things that you would like to see going forward? Questions about what we've talked about? Your head's probably swimming a little. The good thing is you'll be able to look at these videos again. The bad thing is you won't know where to look to find out what did she say? But
yeah, I realize that throughout the videos, there's going to be, you've mentioned resources in each session, but is there a concise listing of resources like this person can do this person can do that, this person can do this?
If you go to the district website homepage, there's all of the committees are listed. And when you click on everybody's name is a link. You click on their name and it brings up an email box directly to that person. So all your, if you see Scott Boucher, Polio Plus, you click on his name and he will get an email.
I do have one question that just popped in. Has the district governor's visit schedule been firmed up, or when will he start?
So I can answer that. I'm debating a few options that are available. Right now, I'm listening to what Rotary International is saying and what we can do and what we cannot do. As everyone knows, there's no traveling between now and June 30th. So I'm going on holiday next week, and one of my goals is to figure out I did a schedule last summer, what I would like to do, and it might become a combination of both Zoom as well as in-person meetings. And that may also, I know Jeff's on this call tonight. He asked me about that as well, about meeting with the boards. And I'm thinking about all the possible options that we have right now. So my thought process is we'll do a combination. Possibly, my goal would be to come in person. That would be the normal goal. But if that can't be done, then we might do, say, for example, a board meeting by Zoom, and we might do an in-person club meeting. And it may not work out exactly the way we want, because as you know, the border is not even open yet. So I have to look at it on both sides of the border. And then I also, I'm working on the governor's citation. And like I mentioned to my group, that Joel stole about 85% of my ideas. But, you know, Shaka has a very important thing I'd like to just add about this last segment that we just talked about. You know, his theme is each one, bring one. I think I'm going to expand that to each one, bring one, retain one. Because as you know, Rotary retention is very important. And to reach out to clubs, do multi-club service projects, that will be the theme for the year. And that's what you'll be seeing from me. So that's a long-winded answer, Scott, to your question. But I think I'll have it pretty well rolled into it by the 1st of June or so. That's my goal. I already did a calendar already. I didn't want to publish it because of all the changes that could be made to it. And like I said, Rotary International has already made changes to my schedule. I mentioned that at a previous meeting. And so I have to work around all those things and get cooperation. And I'd like to throw this out to Joel too, because this has been a tough year for him. And Joel, I'm sure you want to add something to this.
So I just want to say thank you to the training team first. Without you, we're not there yet, and it's going to be a tough year. Starting the next year, it's going to be different. But just keep in mind, have fun. That's the most important thing. If you want to have new members, you need a club who's having fun. With fun, we accomplish a lot as Rotarian. We always get our thing done, and keep that in mind. You're not alone in your club. It's not a one-man show. It's a club. The club will help you with everything. You got past president and past community chair can help you on everything. So make sure that to use them. That's the best way you're gonna succeed in your year, and just have fun.
And I too want to thank the training team for their wonderful work. You guys are super. And I'd like to give everybody a big applause. And thank you so much for everything you've done for our district.
You're welcome. You guys know where to find us, right? You have that agenda, and it's got the links to the resources guide. It's got our email addresses on it. That's always a great place to start. Find all other district committee members on the district website, which is also linked in the resources doc. And don't forget to fill out the surveys if you haven't already. There's one at the end of each day's agenda. And keep your eyes peeled for an invitation to the technology and secretary training, which will be coming up. And like I said before, hopefully we can get a lot of club members and especially committee chairs. So this might be a really good opportunity for you to bring back to your clubs for your upcoming year, the folks that are going to be on your team, and see if they can make it to the club runner training as well. If you look at the end of the agenda, because last year we did it the following Monday, there is a link to district website guides for clubs, and it's all club runner information. So that's just a really handy link if you're a club president, that you can share all those other resources there with the other members of your club. Also in the resources where you see those links for by role, give that membership link to your membership chair, give the foundation link to your foundation chair, the whatever all the other ones are, PR link to your PR chair, because
Where are you?
I'm right to the information that they need right on RI. So they, it's fantastic resources there.
We have a question in the chat.
Which is?
Where do you find the surveys? I found session 1 on the Google Drive, but not for 2 and 3.
Really? So when you click on the virtual survey for part 3, it doesn't come up?
Mine came up.
If you look at the agenda,
It's on the agenda.
It worked for me.
it worked
Yeah.
for me. Yeah, Farrellyn, I don't know what you're looking at, but if you do it from the agenda, at the end of each day is the link to the. Did you see it? I see you now. Okay.
Good.
All right, good. Anything else? Oh, Jeff, I just happened.
Well, yeah. This is kind of for Doug. I mean, our club right now, we're just meeting, Zoom. And I know some clubs, I think, Karina, you said you meeting live, but.
No, we've been Zoom.
Well, would it help Doug if, like, when we as club presidents, we're meeting this week to kind of figure out what our plan is, if he knew we're going to be hybrid, we're going to be all live, or we're just going to stay Zoom, would it help if we kind of got that information to somebody to get it to Doug, or to get it directly to Doug?
Jeff, that would be great. I think if you could get it directly to me, that's good. That's what I said. I know a lot of I know my club has been meeting in person and via Zoom. I haven't been to an in-person Rotary meeting in 13 months myself. So I do know that a lot of clubs throughout, I don't know about our district per se, but a lot of clubs have lost their location. I know Mark's on this call. He's one of those examples. They're not allowed to go back to where they've been going. So that's one of the problems Rotary wide, but that's a great suggestion, Jeff. That would help.
Should we work through the AGs with Tina, or do you want it directly to you?
I think AGs would be the best. That's the best option.
All right. Well, Tina, I'll tell you what we're going to be doing when the time comes.
And it's going to be fluid. It's going to be changing too. So.
Right.
Don't forget, John's taking over from me.
Oh, right. Oh, God, you're right. Oh.
Nice pass, Tina.
You can still talk to me though.
That's right.
I mean, that's a great question though, because like I've been going off your schedules about where you're working and what time you meet and all those things, and that totally might not be accurate. I mean, I know my peers in the Portland area that they have many clubs that can't even meet right now where they've been normally meeting. So I would not surprise. I just thought kind of like a show of hands, how many people cannot meet where they are right now, where they normally meet? Okay. Quite a few. So there you go.
And here's an add-on to what Doug was just saying. Absolutely make sure your website is kept up to date for your meeting time, location, and all that, how you're doing it, because that's been a problem in the past. So please go through your websites and make sure that that information is accurate.
Well, thank you, everybody. I will sign off of my final pets. I hope you guys have a great year, and just know that the district level folks are always here to help you. Good luck.
Bye, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, Robin.
Sure thing.